Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty.
And I'm John Cena Sr.
Our brand new Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays is now. Here's Johnny.
Oh.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, welcome to another Friday night tradition here in the world of Boston Wrestling. Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Friday, part of your SmackDown Friday night on Fox. We never know what's going to come from the mind or the mouth of John Cena Sr. Some even question what's on the head of John Cena Sr. if you listen to your partner in crime there, Cam Zagami, but that's a different story for a different time. Johnny, a lot to talk about in the world of professional wrestling. It's been hot, it's been heavy, but I got to ask you, as we continue the Summer of Seven, trying to pump out great talk show content 7 nights a week, with the goal being that 7 p.m. start time. That one individual here has been so swamped at the studio as we've kind of stuck with 10 p.m. on some nights, but I don't want to shoot myself in the foot and admit I wouldn't call it laziness. I just call it lack of time. When you're here now, the day we tape this, 61 consecutive days, usually for 9 or 10 hours a day, and you know, one can be a little tired, but what did you think of the Jerry Briscoe interview, Johnny? Did you get a chance to see it? I know he's a man that has a lot of respect for you.
An eye for him. I began to watch that interview after I watched a previous interview. I can tell you this, Jerry Briscoe truly is a man that knows and understands this business. And when you listen to what he has to say, he makes a lot of sense. I will say this, very short into it, I can tell you I am going to finish it because I'm very intrigued about what he has to say about the world of professional wrestling today, independent organizations, very intrigued. So it's a worthwhile look for me, and I can't wait to get back at it.
He also discusses what him and I consider to be the real John Layfield. We discussed the passing of his longtime close personal friend, the Hall of Famer Pat Patterson, some of the recruits that Jerry helped bring to WWE over the course of several decades. Very interesting interview. I have to ask you this, Johnny, maybe because it hasn't come up in our private conversations, but what did you think of the Wrestle House concept we had down there in Florida compared to this wonderful, beautiful studio where WrestleMania week we rented a house, we brought the equipment to Florida, and instead of doing a million airport runs and putting people up in hotels, we pretty much had the talent come to us at the house. Did you think maybe for one single night per week on Wrestling Insider Special Edition it was something fun, or do you prefer the studio content?
No, I like the concept of Wrestle House. I hope if I'm lucky enough to go down to WrestleMania next year, I'd like to get down and be part of that. That was a real good concept, a great idea. I think you put the personalities, the wrestlers, in a whole different type of an environment, because you got to remember that myself and other people involved in the business, when you're in the studio format, you do that all the time, cutting promos on camera. When you're in that Wrestle House, it was kind of like, hey, welcome to, mi casa, su casa. Sit down, have a cup of coffee. It's your house, it's my house. I like the concept. I hope you continue with it.
I think maybe for one episode a week, and I like Wrestling Insider Special Edition, where it's rotating guests. It's someone different every week as opposed to you on Friday, Marty on Thursday, Oscar on Monday, and so on and so forth. You never know what to expect on Wednesday night. I have to say this, while maybe it hasn't done the views that some of the episodes done, I think one of the better episodes and one of the better guests we've ever had was JTG of Crime Time. I mean, what an interview that was, where we talked about him trying to break into the business, the passing of Shad Gaspard a year ago when he unfortunately drowned out in the ocean in California, and just, it was a very deep interview. I don't know why the fans haven't taken to it. You know, sometimes the world of wrestling cyber reporting is interesting. You know, they'll be the first to try and create a headline to try and get some attention on their site. But when it comes to something that maybe isn't as gossipy, but maybe very high quality, they don't pounce on it. So I don't know. I enjoy the quality, but I mean, we had 7 unique personalities in that house, Johnny. Sinister Minister James
That was a
Mitchell.
good interview.
Which one now?
Sinister Minister.
Well, I know you said you felt you got kind of some odd vibes off of
You-
him. Evil.
Evil, definitely evil. That man lives, eats, and drinks the part.
We had TJP, the winner of the WWE Cruiserweight Classic and the first Cruiserweight champion of this generation, a man that's competed in MWF rings, one of the finest talents of this generation. We had Demolition Smash, Barry Dasso, with a great look at the World Wrestling Federation in 1987 after he left the NWA in a pretty good position as one of the Russians, Crusher Khrushchev. We had our dear, longtime, close personal friend, Uncle Al Snow, pop by, discussing what it takes to make it in the world of professional wrestling. He also discussed his best friend, another man that is, I know, close to your heart, Quincy Rustani. We also...
Who else do we have?
Dutch Mantel pop by Wrestle House.
Dutch boy.
And I'll tell
I'm
you
sorry I
this,
missed you, buddy.
Dirty Dutch, he shot back on old Mr. USA. Mr. USA claims that Dutch has changed his story about the Brody murder many times, and Dutch took great offense to that. Dutch told his story his way, the way he remembers it, and you know what? I felt it was only fair. If one person wants to tell one side of the story, I think when we're able to, we should give the other side of the story at the same time. I think that, and then let the fans make up their own mind.
You know what I say? There's your side, my side, and then there's the truth.
And it was also 33 years ago, so you have Father Time, too, kicking in. And as we mentioned, we had JTG and Gerald Briscoe. Unfortunately, Demolition Axe had a Clark Griswold-type adventure trying to get to Florida, where he spent the day at the car dealership when the car broke down. Then his hotel was insect infected, so he had to miss us. But luckily, we had him here in the studio for 2 great days of tapings we're going to see soon. And, again, I hate to say it, but also missing us down at Wrestle House in Tampa was New Jack, because they run 8,500 independent shows. Everyone thinks they're going to make Vince money. They run the independent shows until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and the talent doesn't get out of there until crazy time. So I certainly didn't want to begin a series of interviews with the man in the middle of the night.
I don't think so.
And, you know, knock on wood, we were lucky enough to have him here in the studio before
Thank God.
his time came. So, you know, I guess some good came out of it. So in the end, even though only 7 of the 9 came to the Wrestle House, we did wind up having all 9 this spring. Only 2 of them were here in the studio. But we're looking at doing another Wrestle House sometime this summer. You know how beautiful and crisp the air is down in Tampa in July.
I do. I do indeed. I've been down there several times.
But yeah, I think it's an interesting concept. Fans, we always want to know what you think. The premiere box is rolling on Friday night. Do you like Wrestle House maybe once a week compared to the regular in-studio talk shows and podcast-style interviews we do? Because as always, without you guys, you know, it would just be us sitting in a house or an empty TV studio. So their voice, to me, matters an awful lot.
I agree.
And they're telling me, Johnny, they're saving the date, Saturday night, November the 13th, Memorial Hall, Melrose, Massachusetts. It's part of the MWF's 20th anniversary in-ring spectacular. We go back to the 80s for WrestleFest. We're working on a lineup that is going to blow your mind away. We're going to be having some special announcements on America's birthday, July the 4th, Johnny.
Wow. Oh, you know, I'm saving the date, November 13th.
Now, you're going to put on one of those little top hats with the stars and stripes like Uncle Sam?
No, I don't do that. I may throw some $1 million bills around, but I don't think I'm going to wear a hat.
Did I tell you what happened last July 4th?
What happened last July 4th?
Behind the scenes for you guys. We actually taped Wrestling Insiders at your house, at Tony's house in Maine on July 4th. Well, due to the condition of Tony's house, it is, I think I've mentioned to you, in rough shape in certain patches, with 3 broken concrete steps that slope downwards. Well, as we were leaving, I stepped in one of the holes in one of the broken steps and slid down these concrete stairs. The only problem was there were fireworks going off, and no one heard me. Which is funny now to look back upon.
I don't know what he's
let me
laughing
tell
at.
you,
I have no idea.
I was in a lot of pain when that happened.
I'm sure you were.
My foot was killing me for weeks.
Wow.
And I wanted to kill him. Oh,
Well-
our visits up to... I'll tell you this, though. Present situation aside, we had fun going to tape those shows up there.
He's
We
a
had
great-
a lot of fun on those
He's
days.
a great guy, great sense of humor.
Mosquitoes are a little bit of a pain in the ass, but other than that, did you ever see the cat episode?
No.
I never sent you the link to the cat. I got to send you the link to the cat. Did you know that I have an extreme phobia of cats?
You don't like cats?
It's not that I don't like them. I am terrified of them. Have you ever seen in a movie how like a woman runs from a snake?
Yeah, well, that's like the mummy. The cat was the sign in the mummy.
I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm reliving past lives from
Wow.
ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
We were in the middle of an episode, and you know how bad my vision is.
Yeah.
So his porch is behind us, and we're shooting. And Tony's talking, and out of the corner of my eye, I see something. And then I start to, even though have horrible vision, I start to make out what it is. And if you saw how far I leaped out of that chair, and then to make matters worse, the cat got scared, and it ran into Tony's house. So Glantz had to chase the cat through Tony's house.
Who?
Glantz.
Who's Glantz?
You know Glantz, one of the videographers?
No.
No, all right. Well, Glantz had to chase the cat. It turned into just one of those days up in Auburn, Maine on Millionaires
Wow.
Boulevard.
Millionaires Boulevard.
Before I slid down his broken concrete steps, that no one heard me because fireworks were going off. So it was that was the same day because the cat was scared of the fireworks and was looking for somewhere safe to go. Little did he know the 6'3", 260-pound behemoth was going to, and I mean, when I say the cat was maybe this big, it was a little guy, but if it was a giant pit bull that came up on the porch, it wouldn't bother me. There's just something about cats that I can't deal with them.
Wow.
So there's my story about 4th of July and cats and Tony's broken steps.
Okay, moving right along.
You really should have made your way up to at your house. I think you would have found the charm in it up in beautiful Auburn. I don't know how far Cena Estates is up there from Auburn.
I would probably say I am about 45 minutes.
Oh, so not too close.
No. You got to come to my place on the ocean.
I've never been invited.
Oh, you're not going to be in.
Well, I think, to be honest, that would make for an interesting backdrop for an episode of Fabulous Fridays.
Really?
The ocean with the fabulous one.
We could do that.
Enjoying some of that Fabo wine.
We could do that.
If we have any minors, they can have the Fabo Pop.
Fabo cigars, Fabo wine.
We'll bring up some of the finest
Fabo
meats for
Pop.
a barbecue.
I'm
for
working.
you and Moniz and Marjo.
I think what we need to do is we have to get Fabo's Famous Kitchen. We've got to start the series. We've got to start the cooking show.
When do you want to begin the series?
Anytime. Right here, right now, we could start.
Well, I don't think we could start it in the studio.
Well, we could do it.
Well, you know what? The fans have asked for it. Are you ready for it, fans?
What would you like to have me cook? I thought we could start off with a little bit of quick chicken soup, pork chops, pickled peppers, a little bit of quick oven roasted potatoes. We're done. For dessert, we might have a little bit of spumoni.
Or Marjo.
No, Marjo. No, that's your girl.
Little French.
She
creme.
told me. She said, I have to tell you something very important. What? I think that Dan Maradi is little goatee. Wah!
She
That's
said
it.
you like her creamy French creme brulee.
No, that's what she told me about
No,
you.
no.
She's
I've
playing
never
both
met
sides
the
against the
woman.
middle here.
I've never met the woman.
Going to Marty Jannetty, he's not sure you like women.
Oh, please. Oh, please. God. Please help me with Marty Jannetty.
He will.
I love that man. He's a good man.
He's a
he has
great
a good heart.
human being.
He has a good soul. He's a tortured soul. We remember what happened last summer when he first came with us, when he admitted to that story when the man tried to rape him when he was 14 and he bashed his skull in with the brick and he eventually was rolled into a river, but we won't go too deep into that story again. But I think the world of Marty, but sometimes Marty is
Marty.
He's a handful.
Marty is
He's
Marty.
a handful.
Marty is Marty, and you know what? I love him dearly. He's a great human being. had a great career. We all have a situation where we hit bumps in the road. Marty has hit a few bumps in the road. He's doing well to get out of that. I just think that he needs time. He'll always be the one and only Marty Jannetty.
Well, I think once his body is healthy and the pain is gone and his free of any kind of issues or whatever the case may be that has dragged his life down a little bit, I think he would make a tremendous player coach for the young independent guys.
He's got a lot of knowledge there.
Not only,
a lot of knowledge.
Not only the great things you can do in the ring, but pitfalls to try and avoid.
Yep, I agree. I agree with you.
All right. Well,
Wait just a second.
My show, baby.
No, you know who that is? That's Moniz.
Are you sure?
Would you like to say hi to her?
I would.
Here you go.
Bonsoir, Moniz. Moniz. Oui, Major. TV Studio, Melrose, Massachusetts. I don't know what he texted you. He's busy with a French woman right now. She's 78 years old, but she say creamy French creme brulee. Do you know who this is? Where would your partner in crime be early in the morning in Melrose? Well, he's always doing his voices, but he wanted me to say hello. He's trying to get Majot into the women's room so he doesn't get caught. Yes. No, it's Dan. I'm with him. We're on set recording. You're interrupting us. Thanks a lot, Moniz. We used to like you. What time? I can't see without what time is it, Johnny?
It is exactly 9:50.
It is exactly 9:50, not to be confused with 9:49. We started very early this week.
9:30.
Because we had to come back. I don't know if he told you. The air conditioning was broken here the other day, and we both lost about 15 pounds each. It was 77 before we turned the studio lights on, so you wouldn't have had to have worried about being cold. I will, and I wish I was there too.
She's at the wedding with her daughters now. She's going to go to the wedding, get hammered tonight, and have a good time.
Where in Jersey is it? Oh, wow. Geez, you do well. You should have gone, you could have saved a few bucks and used Johnny's place up in Maine. I don't know. Well, Tony Atlas would have given you his place in Auburn rather cheap too, but if you saw how high the grass was, I don't think you would have made it down the aisle. But anyway, do you want me to give you to the fabulous one for a moment? All right, Johnny, she'd like you for just one moment. Goodbye, Moniz. I hope it's a great ceremony.
It is. She's going to get drunk and have a ball. Maybe two balls.
Maybe two.
2 balls. Yes? You have a good voice, and
thank you.
She thought it was me teasing. All right, what can I do for you?
Radio.
We're all on camera. We're all on camera here. You're being recorded. I know, at 12:15 a.m. because I came right here.
So we were just, we're getting my hair and makeup is done. All the girls are in there. I'm just calling John. He's already at the studio. Didn't even fucking text me this morning. I don't even know if he's alive. So yeah, it's so beautiful. Everybody's
Good.
getting everything done.
Good.
So
All right.
I could make me Kim Kardashian.
All right, good.
So maybe I'll send you a picture.
Sounds good.
Call me after, John.
You'll be busy, Mo, with all those, a sip here, a sip there, a whip here, a whip there.
Call me on your fucking way home, please.
You'll be busy, but I'll try.
No, I won't be busy for you. Never too busy for my love.
For your loves? She said she's never too busy for her loves.
Wow.
My love.
Yep.
I said.
Yep. She's going to have a couple of drinks tonight, vodka, and then it's party time. All right.
It was so nice for Katie and Pip. It was just us three in the suite last night.
Oh, had a threesome last night, she did.
Would you shut up, my fucking daughter? Shut up.
All right. Okay. All right, I got to get back to work. Bye.
Go ahead.
Well, always good to hear from Monique. You know, before we cut to a break, did you know Jack,
Don't put that on TV.
Jackie actually had a joke about Margeau?
What's Jackie's joke about my show?
What does Margeau have in common with the show The Simpsons? I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I am. That was one of my favorite shows, one of John Cena Jr.'s favorite shows.
Well, he said, would you go with A or B when it comes to Margeau? Will she have more in common with her undergarments being labeled Krusty's Funhouse, or is it more along the lines of something that's itchy and scratchy?
How about none of the above? Wow, Jackie, I gave you more credit than that, brother. Whoa! All
We
right.
have gone off the deep end. Right now, we're going to take a brief time out. We'll be back to actually talk about the wrestling portion of Wrestling Insider's Weekend Reviews. Stand by. All right, wrestling fans, welcome back. We had a little bit of humor. See what happens when we have Jackie in the control room?
Awesome, fun
The show
time.
goes to the jokes.
No, the show goes to Moniz.
Well, I don't know what kind of show you and Moniz are.
I don't know. She was 3 of them last night. Did you hear that?
Was Marty down there? He used to live in New Jersey.
Party with Marty. No, it was, as you know, her daughter's getting married, and it'll be over by the time we show this, but it's down in Jersey on the shore. It's a great time. God bless the both of them. Wonderful kids, great time. And Mo's down there because she's the mother of the bride.
Gives you a little private time with Margeau and this poly relationship. Is that maybe the best way to describe it?
And what else are we talking about today?
All right, Johnny, let's talk about AEW Double or Nothing. We did the live watch along here that night. I have to say, while I can appreciate the effort of the athletes, I thought the presentation was lacking. It was not one of my favorite AEW events by any stretch of the imagination. I think we both gave it a 4 out of 10.
We did indeed.
But on the more positive side, it was, I believe, the second most purchased pay-per-view in the history of the company. What do you attribute that to, Johnny?
I just think that what happens is people are hungry for good talent. People are hungry for good shows with storylines. And I think that they're willing to at least stretch their arms out and give it a shot. If you remember, I gave it an 8, and you kind of went berserk on the 8. The 8 was for the talent, the effort put forth. The overall show definitely was a 4.
Did I get angry?
You got a little upset. Mo was over here, and she used that F word. What the you?
Well, Moniz had about enough.
Yep.
She didn't understand what a stadium match was.
Nope.
And but you know, I wish AEW would stick to their guns. I love the fact that they were running the pay-per-views on a Saturday night slot, which to me is more of a quote-unquote guys' night. You don't have to worry about, you know, getting up early the next day unless they're church-going folk like you on a Sunday morning.
Yep.
You know, it's kind of
Saturdays, Carmelite Chapel, I'm there. 4 o'clock Mass, 5:30 Mass.
with others that fans here may recognize.
Yep.
You know, you're in no rush to go home. It's more of a relaxed party atmosphere and whatnot, like boxing and UFC. And they've announced that outside of the November pay-per-view called Full Gear, they're going to start going with the Sundays. And on a holiday weekend, I don't think it's as bad. But
You know what I didn't like?
what didn't you like?
I didn't like the extension of go, go, go. You know what? I've been doing it. You've been in the business a while. When it gets to the point where the match starts to get a little bit too long, take it home. Some of those matches were just a little bit too long. And that stadium match, brother, let me tell you, bad news. I couldn't get into it. I just couldn't. And some of the stuff they did was just plain foolish.
And what I have to tell you, Johnny, is if you thought you didn't like the one we watched, if you ever saw the first one last year, oh my God.
No thanks. No
When Matt Hardy was still doing delete. Oh. But anyway, on the more positive side, from a business point of view, it was very successful.
They're a great company. WWE will always be the #1 company. Anybody that thinks they're going to knock Vince off the pedestal, you better have a lot of clout because it's just not going to happen. Now what's happened is the fans, for the first time, have a choice. There's more than one furniture store on the street. You now have a choice of professional wrestling. good professional wrestling. And one of the things that AEW has done that WWE may have thought about doing but never followed through is extending themselves and working with other promotions. I like that idea. New Japan, Impact. I think that's a smart move. And fans are getting into it. They're getting involved in it. But I have to tell you, I hope when they come in September, I'm invited. I'll buy a ticket. I don't have to be invited. I'll buy a ticket to go see it, hopefully. I'll be able to do that. I won't be booked. But I would definitely look forward to a live AEW show.
Well, I have to say, Johnny, opinions about in-ring content and so on aside, first-class treatment when they were here back in, when the hell were they here? The second episode, my God, October 2019. There was a lot about it I enjoyed. There were some things about it that there was some talent that I thought was too green for national television. Again, it's an opinion. No Major League Baseball team is going to win 162 games a year. They're not going to hit a home run every single time. But as someone that appreciates a good fourth effort, hard work from the guys, certainly nothing could be taken away from that. Let me ask your opinion on this one, Johnny, and this thought just came to mind, not even in my notes. How do you think AEW's pay-per-views would fare if there was no version of WWE Network out there, and the only way to watch WWE pay-per-view was through the traditional method that AEW uses of you purchase it at a full pay-per-view price? Obviously, I think it would knock it down to some degree, but the question is, how low would they go compared to what WWE would draw that month? Do you think AEW would have to go to run their 4 big pay-per-views the months that WWE runs B pay-per-views to have more of a fighting chance? What do you think the best route would go if WWE ever decided to go back to the traditional pay-per-view method?
I don't think they ever will, because right now, and I'm being very honest, WWE has too many pay-per-views. I will say that, like it or not, it's the fact. I think that it would be very interesting if there were no network and you had head-to-head competition. I'm not so sure, but that AEW might have a slight edge there.
You think AEW would outdraw WWE on pay-per-view?
All depends on what they're going to put out there for. I
would be blown away.
Well, you know what? Stranger things have happened. And all I'm going to say is this.
Just look at the number of bodies that watch the shows. You know what I mean? I think just based upon that, you have more consumers, more fans to potentially pull from for a pay-per-view buy if you're going by WWE ratings.
But I would say this. I don't believe what's on the internet, first of all, because a lot of that it's like a reality show. It's just not true. I would say that probably when you talk about numbers, I'm not so sure that if WWE if they run the types of pay-per-views they're running now, which are no more to me than glorified Raw and SmackDown shows.
A lot of them.
Yeah, where's the hype? Where's the old? I've got tons and tons of tapes, and I mean I've got tons of tapes, and I've turned some of those into DVDs, and I look at those and I go, wow, now that's a pay-per-view. That's a pay-per-view. The storyline goes on from the pay-per-view. It followed 6 months down the line. Not just, let's crank out another edition of Insider. Let's crank this out. Let's crank that out. It's not the case. And I think if AEW thought the process out, reviewed what needs to be done, maybe they wouldn't beat out WWE, but I sure as hell believe WWE would have some competition.
I'll say this, Johnny. You know where I think WWE and even now Peacock shot themselves in the foot? With the network presentation as it is, I would have never removed WrestleMania from pay-per-view.
Thank you.
Because I think even if you kept just that one event on pay-per-view, I think it would do even bigger numbers than it was doing before, because it would be presented as something more special, as something unique, as something different than every other pay-per-view over the course of the year. I would have kept WrestleMania as that one $69.99, whatever it is, pay-per-view a year, and I think they would have only increased the number of buys they have for it. One man's opinion.
Yeah, but I think what they've done is it's kind of like that old business move, buy one, get one free. I think if I can give you the top dog show, you'll buy the other products that I have to offer. It's kind of like that bait thing. You're getting the show of shows for $9.99 or $10, whatever it works out to be, and all the rest of the stuff that goes with it. So I basically got you in. Just think about this. If you don't have the network, how else do you watch WrestleMania? You pay for it on demand, and it's not cheap. So what they're saying...
to be fair, it still is available on traditional
It is.
pay-per-view
It
networks.
is,
For
yes.
those people that have, maybe they live in an area that has poor internet or something like that, you can still spend $70, whatever it might be, but it's just, it's 10, 20,000 buys maybe compared to over 1 million in some years during
I agree. No, I agree with you, but I still think that, I don't think it's a stupid decision because you have that option. And it's like walking into the store. Well, if you buy this, look at what you're going to get that goes along with it. You're going to get all the cream, nuts, and things that go on top of the sundae. If you don't want that, come on in. And now each item, it's like that Putnam Pantry in Danvers.
Yeah.
When you go in and buy the ice cream, you got to put each one cost you X number of dollars or pennies to put on top of the ice cream. No, I think Vince has got a great idea because he's given you a choice. You can buy me at $80 and watch me on demand, or you can get the network and watch it for $9.99 and get all the bonuses that go with it. I don't think it's a bad move.
Well, all right. Well,
one man's opinion.
One man's opinion, as we like to say. One thing, though, Johnny, it pulls on the strings of the heart. A man that was with us here less than a year ago, producing some great talk shows in this studio. Young Lio Rush has announced his retirement yet again from the world of professional wrestling, which is at least the second time since he left WWE. I consider Lio beyond one of the great in-ring talents right now to be a good friend. He, in his interviews, he was very forthcoming about his mental health issues. He was injured during that casino battle royale at Double or Nothing when he was getting ready to sign an AEW contract. And now he says once he recovers from his injuries, he's going to fulfill his commitments with New Japan Pro Wrestling and then call it a day, John. Well, your thoughts on a very, very young Lio Rush deciding to, at least at this point, retire from the king of sports?
You can only cry wolf so many times. This is number 2. I think the world of Lio Rush. That man has so much talent. He really is there. He could be right there at the top of the card. But I think he's got so many issues in between. Until he gets rid of the demons, gets rid of the issues, settles his life, I think he's made a smart decision because he would do more harm than good to himself, his character, and his family. I think he's made a very, very smart move. I predict this. I bet you see a Lio Rush back in the ring again.
Well, one promotion I'd love to see him compete in, and that is right here in Boston Wrestling, MWF. He's a good soul since the first time he and that piece of garbage, the Velveteen Dream, took a bus up from Baltimore, Maryland. I tell you, I won't get into my thoughts about Patrick Clark because I'm not a teenage boy, but with Lio, though, he just, even as a young person, he impressed me so much, John. He gets off the bus, he's working on a laptop, he's working on little vignettes and music videos and things for upcoming events he had. He is someone, to me, that got it. He understood it. He understood that it's more than just the promoter saying, okay, here's what you do. Lio took social media and self-promotion by the balls, and he made content with it. He promoted himself and made himself more interesting, more talked about, and more valuable. That's why, to me, it's a very... it's a loss for professional wrestling. I know Lio can be a very polarizing individual to some, but Lio, I wish him the best. I know he has 3 youngins now, and you want the best for them. He's ventured into the world of music. He's made some very interesting music videos, but I still think, at his age, he has a lot to offer the king of sports professional wrestling when he is sound of both body and mind.
Maybe someday you'll see him back, not necessarily in ring, producer, trainer. There's a lot of things you can do in this business other than bounce around in the ring.
Well, the depression part can be tough.
It's
the
very
depression
difficult.
part, it can overwhelm you.
It's hard.
And
It's
that's
hard.
why, whether it be Leo or anyone else, that's why it's a good thing we have such a great resource. And Dr. David Reese, who is always, in his work outside of professional wrestling, always welcomes anyone to reach out to him if they need a helping hand. He may not always have the solutions, but he can at least guide you in the right direction if you are someone that is in a place of maybe a troubled mental health at the time. Long term, short term. So, you know, David Reese, you can easily find him via Google and social media. He's an acclaimed psychiatrist, usually based out on the West Coast, but he does have an office here on the East Coast. So, you know, hopefully Leo gets well physically, and then maybe as the body feels better, maybe the mind will find some peace, and then he'll say, you know what? I really do have a hell of a lot to offer professional wrestling. I do belong in that ring tearing it up. Because I wanted him November 13th, I'll be honest.
I think that there are things that happen to us in life on roads that we take that sometimes you don't quite understand. Why did I take this corner in life? I should have been going straight ahead. But sometimes when we take that corner, it gives us the time, the rest, to really examine the whole package. So Mr. Rush is out there. He's taken that corner. He's made a decision. I think it's a difficult decision to make. But at the same time, you know, I hate to say it, if you're retired, you're retired. I don't like retirement and come back. I don't like retirement and come back. If you're out, you're out. But I do think there's a place for him in professional wrestling. I think he knows that. He's made a decision for himself and his family, so to speak, and I think that's a wise decision. I've always, in my whole life, have put my 5 sons before everything else. My family is my life. I lay my life on the line for my boys. And so I think for him to make that type of decision for his family, it's a good start. And it's also a good start for him and his psyche. Let's see where it goes from here. I don't believe the journey's over.
Do you think there is a spot in the King of Sports professional wrestling for that piece of garbage he broke in with, the Velveteen Dream, who WWE wisely said, "C'est la vie. Ciao. Hasta la vista."
I'll be very honest with you. We all have different lifestyles. Is that a good way to put it?
It's a good way to put it.
However, you don't do what was done. That's
what
wrong.
he was accused of.
Okay, okay, good word, accusation.
Because here's the thing, even though I detest him as a human being, when it comes to what happened with the accusations that were put out there online about him sending the nude photos to the underage boys, it was not proven by a court of law or anything like that.
Nope.
So I may not like him, but to me, as far as that goes, they are accusations. But at the same time, we live in a culture where if you see it on social media, you're almost automatically guilty, which I also think is wrong.
I agree.
And it put WWE in a tough spot. Every time they put the man on television, you know, Fire Velveteen Dream would start trending on Twitter. So what does that say as far as what the fans want? And now you're getting back to a point where there's going to be more and more fans at live events. What would the reaction to Velveteen Dream be at a live event filled with fans?
You know, human nature is a very cruel thing. We pick up on various things and, you know, crucify him, beat him up. You're different. Kick the shit out of him. God made us all different. Thank God for that. I don't knock anybody's lifestyle. It's an open world. And who is to define love and partnerships? Certainly not I. Certainly not I. The man above, and he hasn't condemned anybody. So my whole thing is, you know, I can't say that the man is guilty. It hasn't been proven. So for you to take and make that type of, or perform that type of action, I can only assume that the WWE must have had something that you and I don't know about.
Well, I also know that there were personality issues, I guess is maybe a good way to put it. You know, he was an asshole when he joined the company with everything that went on here in Boston Wrestling. He lied to WWE Talent Relations, not knowing how friendly I am with some in Talent Relations, which led to a clash when him and I finally got off the phone after he blew me off when he was going to no-show one of our events. and your good friend the professor said he thought the walls of the studio were going to cave in, I got so angry because you know what? I don't like the lying. I don't like the bullshit.
I don't put up
and
with
for
lying.
him to try and make me look bad to people I've known over 20 years, intentionally, no.
Well-
But the human side of me says, you know what? If he's innocent, if he didn't send those pictures out to those kids, why should his career be destroyed because of it? Because you know what? There's been a lot of successful assholes in this industry.
I would agree. And again, human nature. You know, we have a tendency to feed off of, you know, it's like the sheep, they follow the goat. Human nature, or people are a lot like that. You see somebody being kicked on the street, instead of turning around and get involved, try to help that person, you find the person kicking them. Why? Because we're followers. We're not leaders. It's so disturbing to me when I see some of these, what do I want to say, protests? What are you protesting against? Well, I don't know. Marty's carrying a sign. I figure I'm going to carry one too. Well, you know what? I think what you need to do is become you. We need to be individuals again. We need to be able to think for ourselves. Stop condemning. You know, I'm going to tell the fans this right up front. Before you shoot on anybody, look in the mirror, man. Take a good look at what you're looking at. And when you can tell me you're perfect, when you can tell me you've never done any of the stuff that everybody's complaining about, then I'll take your side. Until then, you know what? The good Lord said it best. Before you try to remove the splinter from your brother's eye, go home and look in the mirror and take the beam out of your own. And I'm telling you, not only professional wrestling, religions, politics, right down the line. So, you know, Velveteen Dream screwed up, if that's the case. If there was a personality issue and he didn't cut it, sorry to hear that. Will his career end? That, my friend, is up to him. And if it comes to fruition, a court of law. Who am I to judge before I have the facts?
I'll ask you two questions, Johnny. Number one, if he is innocent of these explicit pictures being texted, but guilty of being an ass,
Okay.
do you see a future for him in wrestling?
Well, you know, I'm only going to say this. I've worked with enough people. I'm sure you've worked with enough people. I met a lot of asses in this business. It's all about I. It's all about me. I worked a show with the individual involved in that show. The promoter, would come in and say, "Hey, Cena, it's your time to go out. I'm not going out till I get my envelope. Once I get paid, I might go out there. And where are the other 4 or 5 or 6 bookings you promised me?" That's being an ass.
Yeah.
All right? I mean, we all need to make a living in this. Or a guy with long hair that took over a faction, that did a wrestling match, and I was managing this giant, and they dropped him to his feet, and the answer was, "I had to get my shine." That's being an ass.
Well, isn't it interesting that your enemy of sorts, Cam Zagami, brought Patrick Clark, the future Velveteen Dream, into the Uprising faction? So
you know what?
He
2
certainly
asses.
had an eye for talent, but
Oh, really? Really?
well, I don't think you can take away from the man's charisma.
No, he
what
has
brought to
charisma.
the plate.
I agree.
It's the personality thing. But let me ask you this, Johnny. We talked about, okay, if he's innocent, is there a place for Velveteen Dream in pro wrestling? Let's say he is guilty of sending these dick pics to these teenage boys. Is there a second chance? Is there a way for Patrick Clark to redeem himself in wrestling, or do you think, as your good friend Commissioner Von Johnson would say, he's done, baby, done?
All I can say is this. Society is tolerant to a point.
Mm-hmm.
If that was done, to me, that's predatory. That's wrong. We all have to learn to forgive. Done. But you can't forget. So I think the issue we have, maybe that's a double negative, I don't know. I think one of the issues that you have to think about is that's something that if he were trying to prey on these young men, I think that society is not tolerant of that. I know that there are not many people who are tolerant of that. Rape, sodomy, that type of
I
thing.
would hope not.
Well, I'm not. I'll tell you right now, I don't tolerate that very well. There's enough freedom out there for everyone to buy or get what they need without molesting little children, without raping young women, without taking advantage of people.
Well, he was only accused of sending pictures, nothing like that.
Well, but what's the start of a picture? Why would you send me a picture? What's the point of sending me the picture? Why? To try to seduce? To try to bring me in? I don't understand.
Trying to groom them?
Well, I have no idea. And to me, if that's the kind of lifestyle you have, keep it to yourself and live that lifestyle with people who view it the same way you do. But don't throw it out to these young men or young women, because it's been done both ways, that are going to open up on TV, they're going to open up on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, and destroy your whole situation. I just don't get this in this world today. Nobody thinks, they simply act. And why a man of his stature would even do that is beyond me. The character he portrayed kind of signified some of that. You just brought everything to fruition. You've damaged the whole society of good men and women who have a different lifestyle. Why? I don't understand. If it's not true, then those individuals that are making the claim should be prosecuted. It's wrong when you can take and ruin a man or a woman's career with false information.
Needlessly.
That's right. Then the tables should be turned. I bet you if somebody sat him down and straightened him out and maybe gave him a second and gave him a second chance, he might be able to succeed. But if he's going to be an ass like Sagami, all I can tell you is this: Cam, the end is near. So, Mr. Velveteen Dream, whatever has happened, let's hope it didn't. But if it did, the end is near. Because nobody's going to take a chance on having their names smeared with that type of situation. Would you want to book him now?
No.
Okay. Would WWE, Impact, AEW? Nobody can be attached or affiliated. It's wrong.
Just from the personality issues aside, I don't think he's someone I'd want to deal with. But as far as, until there is, I guess, a resolution about these pictures, I don't know. I'd have to do more research. And you know me.
There you go.
I can dig deep into some of our friends in Connecticut to try and get the scoop sometimes.
I'd like to know the scoop.
I think, if he's innocent, I think the fans would probably like to see him.
I'll tell you what. The only issue I have with the statement you just made is it's unfortunate that there's a thing called stigma. It'll stick. There'll always be those asshole fans that will start that fire 'em chant and bring back the past.
The memory.
Yeah. Look in the mirror, folks. That's all I'm telling you. Don't be so quick to throw a stone. But anyway, that's what's going to hurt. There's going to be those idiots in that audience that are going to start that shit all over again, and it's just going to destroy everything. And then the promoters are going to say, unless I turn him into a real heel, and he can live with that. A lot of people can't live with that type of that's why young people commit suicide, because it's bullying. That's a form of bullying if it's not true. You can ruin a life. You can take a life. Think before you act. If he's guilty, and as far as I'm concerned, there's been nothing that's really said, you're guilty. But why would a promotion who recognizes outstanding talent, and I'm beginning to wonder with some of the cuts, get rid of this young man? See, there's the question mark right there. Maybe it's a case of, hey, look, Patrick, it's kind of up in the air right now, but because of where we are and who we are, a stock-held company and whatever, we just can't do it. We just can't do it. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a business decision. That's fine.
And you know what's funny, Johnny? As much as I will always resent and detest what he did, if he is, I'm going to say again, if he is innocent of sending those pictures, I hope things can work out for him.
I don't wish anybody ill. But it's like the tide. When you look at the beach, it's all full of debris. When the water comes in, it washes the beach clean. He has an opportunity, if it is not factual and not proven, to wash the beach clean. Change what you know is wrong, and by doing that, anybody in this world, you will succeed.
I'll tell you this, if I was him, I would go out of my way to hire a private investigator, a public relations firm to try and clear my name.
Yep.
I would offer the phone to be scrubbed.
Yep.
To see if any pictures like that were ever sent, and if not, really publicly showcase that to try and salvage my career.
You might as well open the can,
Yeah.
because the worms are already out. So why not just bring it all to fruition?
Well, he needed to keep his worm in, I guess. But
Well, you know, when I hear these types of things, I get very, very confused and upset, because I look at people of that stature and say, why? Why would you do things like this? First of all, how'd you get these young men's numbers? One.
Well, you know what, to be fair, I'll say this for him and any wrestler. When you're a superstar like that, your social media is going nuts with people hitting you up for a situation like that. We don't have rats anymore in this business, for better or worse. That's the way that these guys meet up with, random people that they don't personally know when they're on the road, is through those social media. So, you know what, to say that Patrick would be the only one to have an interaction like that would be like saying that you and I were the only two people today that had breakfast. You know what I mean? It's virtually everyone. What's that?
Haven't eaten breakfast yet.
Well, Majot's waiting for you back at the house.
I'm down 30 pounds. I have 10 more to go.
Wow. I'll say this. I think to wrap the segment up, overall, it's very disappointing that you have two athletes that haven't even hit their prime yet.
Yep.
That haven't even hit their prime yet. That are only getting better and should only be getting better. And neither one of them right now that broke in together, Leo Rush and Velveteen Dream, neither one of them are actively part of the sport.
Well, whose fault is that? In Velveteen Dream's case, in Mr. Rush's case, something that he can't control at this point. So, again, I think you might see him back in some form, shape, or manner. Patrick, if he can, as I say, when the tide comes in, it washes the sand clean. That's it. That's all I have to say. The choice is mine. The choice is ours. You know, I'll sit right here and say it. I make no bones about this. 25 years ago, I had the world's worst temper. My sons would say that. My former spouse would say that. I was just uncontrollable. Little things would set me off. And then one day I did exactly what I'm saying to everybody else to do. I looked in the mirror and I said, you know, you're an ass. If you don't change or try to change, your life will be alone and you'll have nothing. I can tell you this, it is possible for a zebra to change its stripes or a leopard to change its spots. I tell you this, my sister, my family, those that know me, when I did make the change 2 years after my divorce or during that separation period, said, you're not the same person. And I wasn't. I really did what I needed to do, look in the mirror. And if you can do that and you want to do that, there's only one thing that defeats us, that's us. There's only one thing that doesn't allow us to change, that's us. And in some cases, we don't even realize we have that issue. I grew up with that anger issue with my father, God rest his soul. Italian, quick temper. Shoot, he had the greatest love for us, but he was such, oh man, I remember he put his fist through a wall because he missed me. So I can tell you, you think it's really the way to go because you grew up with it, but it's not. So change. If Patrick wants to be who he wants to be, then look in the mirror, find help if he needs to find help, and get back on the road. Mr. Rush, there are many issues there. Those will change. They will, and he'll be back.
Is that why you're so hard on me sometimes, Johnny? You know,
You have a quick fuse. And I don't know if the fans know this about my host. I'm merely just allowed to be here, and I'm grateful for that.
They usually know my humor and insight into wrestling. They usually don't see the behind-the-scenes things that happens. But much like you know I have a temper. And one thing I can say about you is I think you have put a lot of ideas into my head on how to try and work the faucet a little bit better.
You have to, because we all have to, you know, what Martin Luther King said it, can't we all just get along? And when I look at the things that used to upset me, a son spilling a glass of milk, I don't need you guys, I'm leaving. What a stupid ass I was. And when you look at all the things that you get excited about, they're so minuscule. If we just take, and now what I do is I step back and say, before you talk, before you act, for every action there's reaction.
Yeah.
And you know what? Stop and think. Stop and think. And I've seen some change in you.
Well, thank you.
You don't fly like you used to. We'll see what happens at the show November 13th when I fly.
Well, I got to tell you this: the day of the live events, I am a different human being, because it is a level of stress that I don't think you can imagine unless you've actually done it. And to me, I am not one that'll settle for second best. I am not one that'll settle for garbage. I want everything to be portrayed a certain way. And you know what? I think maybe the biggest problem for me is I spent that time in my early 20s with Ed Cohen of WWE, and then I went into the world of independent wrestling again after Tony Rumble passed for a second time. So it was almost like going backwards. So it was like I worked with the standard bearer. I saw how it was supposed to be done, almost to perfection in a lot of ways. And then I'm dealing with the realization of what independent wrestling is in 2001 through 2021. And it's a very different beast than WWE. And I think I get so caught up in trying to emulate what I saw that was so successful back then that I just get overwhelmed with stress. It's not, and I think any of the guys that know me personally know that Dan, the day of the event, is not the Dan the other however many days of the year there are. But like Chairman Manolian says, the co-founder of the organization, he says there is no more miserable of a human being than you the day of the live events. You've never enjoyed one of them.
I agree.
And I said, you know what? I thought about it. I said, I think you're right. I can't think of one event that we've ever had that I've enjoyed.
I would agree. I would agree 100%.
And that's lousy when you consider the work, the time, the effort, the money, the love that we put into these events for the fans. And I have never actually got to sit down and enjoy one.
Well,
isn't that odd when you think about it?
I only got to say this, and maybe...
Well, I respect your thoughts. You know that.
I know, and I respect yours. That's why, we've had our differences. But we can, agree to disagree and still be friends. I think, Mr. Marty, and I'm no psychiatrist, Dr. David Reese, the expert, but when you try to do it all, you get yourself in that volcano mode, and if somebody just drops a drink, you go nuts. I've heard people backstage when I work the shows saying, I ain't working for that guy again. He's a nutcase. And he really isn't. He really isn't. It's just perfection is there. You want it to be the way it is. We're not all perfect. But if you would allow and delegate and trust those that you delegate to, I think you would be able to sit back like Vince does. Yeah, he gets pissed off back there. Tommy shook The Rock's hand. I'm backstage when he was doing his jumping jacks. I'm sure The Rock wasn't happy about it because he made a four-letter word statement. I'm sure Vince kind of looked and said, "What? Do you know what he just did?" And I thought I was being, I guess, but I wasn't thinking. I apologize to The Rock. But my whole thing is, I think those are the things that we need to do. If you trust me enough to be in your show, if you trust me enough to be your security, if you trust me enough to assign me to the sales and the ticket booth, then let it go. If you don't, then maybe you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. Maybe you should just simply say, I'll be the guy that sits in the chair, I'll delegate, but not micromanage. But you want to do it all. It's utterly impossible. So maybe food for thought down the road when we get to November 13th.
Saturday night, November the 13th, Memorial Hall, Melrose, Massachusetts. Fans, save the date. We have some big announcements coming.
I'm waiting.
On July 4th, baby. What's that song? I'm your Yankee Doodle Daddy. My Joe's your Yankee Doodle girl.
Got to tell you a story, and it goes like this. I'm not looking for my Joe to give me a kiss. I hope the 4th of July is going to be a bang for you. All I know is, stop my Joe. It's something I can't do. I'd like to say, hello, baby, but I've got a friend named Moniz who means a lot to me. So all I want to say to you and the fans, happy 4th of July. Enjoy the fireworks and the bands.
All right, wrestling fans, I have a feeling I missed Jackie's 15-minute cue. We're going to take a brief time out.
Jackie's coming through the glass.
Jackie's joking, folks. We'll be right back. All right, wrestling fans, welcome back. Another heck of an episode, Johnny. You never know what way the GPS is going to go on these Wrestling Insider talk shows, whether it's you, Marty, Oscar, the special edition shows we have Wednesday nights with the random guests. We're trying to put together Wrestle House 2 this summer down in the Sunshine State to get some more unique perspectives in the world of professional wrestling. We just keep growing and growing and growing until things literally explode when all those dynamics come together on Saturday, November the 13th at Memorial Hall in Melrose. You have the 80s reunion, back to the 80s WrestleFest, autographs, posed photos with some of the WWF greats of the era that I know I love so much, you love so much. It is going to be the 20th anniversary of Boston Wrestling in-ring wrestling, so you know we're going to put together a hell of an in-ring event with some of the finest athletes that are up and coming, that are the future of WWE, that are the future of AEW and other national promotions. And on top of that, the third dynamic, Johnny, where it is November 13th, it's the kickoff to the 10th Paul Bearer Holiday Headlock Toy Drive. So you have all of these variables, all of these dynamics. Just think of some of the unique personalities all in one building, in one night, like probably Moniz had to send out for the big day, a save the date card, November 13th. We're going to have announcements beginning July 4th. Tickets are going to go back on sale again to those that had previously had to reschedule and or those that are on our Patreon. And as we continue to make announcements throughout the summer and fall, we'll have more and more ticket information, especially those VIP packages, Johnny. With what the fans are going to get, it is the best value in professional wrestling.
Be great. I can't wait. November 13th. I got some surprises planned too.
Oh, I know you do, baby. Just ask Majo. All right, for John Cena Sr., I'm Dan Marati. We'll see you next Friday night on Wrestling Insiders, Fabulous Fridays. You and yours. Be well, stay healthy. Good night. The World Wrestling Federation was live at the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden in New York, New York, Saturday, June the 25th, 1988. In the opening contest, the Big Boss Man made his MSG debut, beating Scott Casey. The Rougeau brothers with the win over the Conquistadors. The Rock, Don Morocco, defeated Dangerous Danny Davis via disqualification when Greg Valentine attacked both Morocco and his manager, Billy Graham. Andre the Giant victorious over Bam Bam Bigelow. George the Animal Steele beat Greg the Hammer Valentine via countout. Bad News Brown with the win over Jim the Anvil Neidhart via countout. Hacksaw Jim Duggan defeated the one-man gang. The Ultimate Warrior victorious over Bobby the Brain Heenan in a weasel suit match. And in the main event, WWF World Champion Macho Man Randy Savage retained the title over Million Dollar Man Ted DiBiase in a steel cage match where a fan jumped the cage as Virgil attempted to interfere. If you were at MSG Live, share your memories in the comment section below. Use the links in the description box to keep Wrestling Legends working in our eBay store and on our world-renowned Patreon streaming service so we can bring you more interactive superstar shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston Wrestling Sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join rotating legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's no-holds-barred sex, drugs, and rock and roll journey on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep Wrestling Legends working during the worst of times